Welcome to the last football Friday of the season. You're locked on.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Before we dive into today's show, just want to take a moment to say thank you for all that you guys are doing to help this podcast out. It's grown so much, and it's because of fans like you who value great UConn content no matter what it's about. We're proud to say we're the only daily podcast covering both UConn men's and women's basketball, the basketball capital of the world, and we're thrilled to bring you the coverage you deserve. To show our gratitude, we're giving back to our community. We're donating 10% of our revenue to Husky Ticket Project, helping send kids to UConn games, and we're also making a monthly donation to Bleeding Blue for Good. You all know it. It's supporting NIL initiatives, and that makes sense and make a difference for our UConn athletes. If you're enjoying the show, take a moment to subscribe, follow, and leave a review wherever you listen. Thanks again for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. Special shout out to my everydayers. We couldn't do this without you. So this is the last football Friday of the season. We're doing a little mixed bag of a little bit of everything, wrapping up the regular season. Literally probably less than 15 minutes. So if you're listening to this, it's a quick little, I didn't want to go a Friday and ignore the game that's tomorrow. So let's break down where UConn football stands as we hit the final stretch of the regular season. There's been a lot of chatter this year, both good and bad, about this team. So let's dive into some numbers, some predictions, and perspective as we close out the 2024 season of football. I haven't done this yet, but I did a little bit of a deep dive into like where this team ranks in specific polls with analytics, FPI and SP metrics and things of that nature. So let's start with that. According to the G5 Hive, a dedicated group covering the group of five football, UConn comes in at 18th in their weekly poll. That's a respectable spot, showing that even with their ups and downs, there's recognition for what this team has accomplished this season. The defense in particular is drawing praise as one of the most efficient in the group of five landscape. Pair that with a strong rushing offense, and you can see why they're still in that conversation. But not everything is sunshines and rainbows. Kelley Ford, a respected analytics guy in the college football world, has moved UConn down to 88th nationally. That's lower than ESPN's FPI and SP plus metrics, which paint a slightly more optimistic picture. It's a bit of a reality check, reminding us that there's still plenty of work to be done if this team wants to take the next step. And obviously, we've talked about that a little bit in our live reaction show after we lost to Syracuse. It's great that we lost by a touchdown, covered, got a little backdoor cover. People argued whether it was Nick or Joey or if there was a big difference or a slight difference. It really doesn't matter. If this UConn team wants to make the steps that's needed, they're going to have to figure out how they can get their own dynamic quarterback in. And I don't think Nick is that guy. I don't know if Welliver will be, or if they need to go portaling again. We'll see. Here's where things get interesting. On one hand, the defense is solid. The rushing offense can hold its own. On the other hand, as we just talked about, the passing game has been mediocre at best. Lack of balance makes UConn's offense predictable at times and easier for opponents to game plan against. If you're relying on the defense to stop you in games and the run game to grind it out, it works until it doesn't. And what I mean by that is, look, this isn't FCS. This isn't, North Dakota State. We don't run the triple option like Navy or Army to surprise teams because they haven't seen it, or the mesh like Wake Forest. We run a pro-style read option offense. So we'll see about what's going to happen going forward. But this week, the big question is whether Joe Fayano will finish the year at quarterback or if Nick Evers will return if he's healthy. Whoever takes the snaps, the offense faces the same critical decision: open things up and diversify the attack, or stick to the tried and true ground and pound approach that UConn's been known for, and that Gordon Samus has been pretty vocal about getting this running game going. It's been effective, but the mixture has to be there. But if they want to evolve, they need to find a way to get creative and balance and keep the defense honest. The other thing I would say is don't go away from the run just because you have Joe Fiano at quarterback. If that's the case, doesn't mean you can't run an offensive system that plays off of his strengths, which is, wouldn't it be great to get him in some play action? Wouldn't it be great to get a couple of slants that typically are the shots that Nick has missed because he's not accurate enough to put it on people? Joe was not good against Syracuse, but I think he was better than what we've seen from Nick from a passing perspective. So I think as if we go into this week's matchup, Bill Connolly of ESPN's SP Plus predicts a comfortable 37-17 UConn victory. I'm in that mindset. I don't know if they're going to put up 40 points. I think it's more going to be 27-13. But I think the margin is there, and it aligns with what most of the metrics say. I mean, UConn is a better team than UMass, but not everyone is sold. CBS Sports, Brian Jones has picked the Minutemen to beat the Huskies. And that's crazy to me that he's picking UMass. One of the most consistently struggling programs in college football. They've literally just canceled their NIL. I know they're going to try to replace it with something else. But if that doesn't get the team fired up, I don't know what will. And honestly, I don't even know if this game is just about winning. It's about how UConn wins. If they want to be taken seriously, they need to dominate this game. If they win this game 20-7 or 20-19, or if it's really close, I don't think that cuts it. They need to blow UMass out. End the season on a high note. Show they're ready to take the next step as a program. Really, the choice is simple. Stick with the conservative approach and risk letting UMass hang around, or spread it around. Run to throw. Throw to run. I think this team is capable of doing either, because I've seen it. If the coaching staff can put together a dynamic game plan and the players execute, this could be a statement game. UConn needs to end the season on a high note and get to 8 wins, which is great. And lastly, in our little mini pod today, so I can go enjoy my weekend, where does this leave us? UConn football, great strides this year. Still a work in progress. Talked about this on the last show. It is not close to being super competitive. And what I mean by that is, if they win against UMass, you have 8 wins, all against subpar competition. Teams that other squads who they're trying to emulate would absolutely crush. The games that we've lost against all Power 4 conference teams, 1 Big Ten, 3 ACC, and all of which in their respective conferences are all really bad. No one thinks Maryland's good. No one thinks Duke is good. No one thinks Wake Forest is good. And very few people think Syracuse are good. So this game against UMass is more than just the final score. It's about progress. It's about furthering the identity, setting the tone for the future, getting to the bowl game. The coaching staff has decisions to make. The players have a chance to really step up, and the program has an opportunity to close the season with a lot of momentum heading into the portal season. So it's not the end. It's the beginning. So whether you're optimistic like SP Plus or skeptical like CBS, one thing's for sure, this game 100% matters. I think if UConn can rise to the occasion and remind everyone why this program deserves to be in the national conversation eventually. But that's it for me today on my mini pod, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you stay locked on. Make sure you go support this team. Make sure that we are all looking forward to whatever bowl game we get, if we get a bowl game. As an independent, that's a little trickier. So I think the bones are there. The foundation for this team is there. But this offseason is critical for UConn, because the chatter to go to the Big 12 is not going to stop. I don't think the Pac-12 makes sense, but getting to a P4 conference that makes sense for the entire university is going to be that's going to be the driving conversation this offseason. Because that vote that didn't happen in the Big 12 that I said was imminent, that ended up not being that, is going to come back around. I can guarantee it to you. Whether it gets done is going to be about UConn showing with that independent consulting group that, hey, this football staff is for real. We've made strides. We're going to end up being here by the time you need us in, maybe it's sooner, maybe it's 2027, 2028, something like that. So, but hey, let's go enjoy this game tomorrow. The kick is at 12, and I'm going to do everything in my power to do another live reaction show with you guys in the afternoon. Go Huskies.